hosted by John L. Brown, Terry A. O'Neill, and T.D. Trice.
Welcome to Uplifting Communities Talk Show. This show is to provide information and real strategies for successful living. I'm Terry A. O'Neill.
I'm John L. Brown.
And I'm T.D. Trice. Welcome to today's program. Today we have a special guest with us, the President and CEO of the Greater Sacramento Urban League, Mrs. Cassandra Jennings. Welcome to today's program.
Thank you.
We wanted to have you on the program so that you could share with us what the Urban League is and what it's doing in the community to help uplift the community.
Okay. Well, thank you. The Urban League is certainly a civil rights movement organization, and we've been around in Sacramento for 52 years, but the movement has been nationwide for 110 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And our mission is really to help individuals, especially African Americans and people in underserved communities, become economic self-reliant. And that really just means they need to get in jobs, good paying jobs, or starting businesses that they can support their families and themselves.
Amen.
And the lifestyle that they choose.
And that's
Amen.
very needed today.
Yes.
Because people are struggling right now.
Right.
That's right.
So there are pillars. Talk about the pillars that the Urban League has in their mission. I think it's education, empowerment, and employment.
Right.
Yes.
So we like to say we educate, empower, and employ. And probably I'll start with the last one first, is the employment, because we are a job center, America's Job Center, which means we have a full service to help people find jobs. So when people come in, we sort of get information from them, and then they can either have basic services or individualized services. And what we find is that obviously it varies, but many may need, they don't have a high school diploma, or maybe their skills are a little dated. And if we're going to get them in the jobs for the day that are good paying, they may need some additional skills. And then maybe they just need brushing up on their resume or interview skills. We have workshops and classes around that. And then at the end, we want to connect them with employers. So we have a job developer that's working with employers, and then we bring the two together. I will say that part of the employment, which is sort of the driver of all the other services, we end up having a lot of training programs, connections with community colleges that really help to prepare people for meaningful work, and one that will be sort of the higher paying jobs.
Nice. Now, is this just serving the underprivileged? What about like unemployed teachers, for instance, that already have a degree? Do you help them find employment as well?
Absolutely. It's
Okay.
open to everyone.
Okay.
And if
That's
you
great.
are, whether you have a degree, whether you have a couple of degrees, whether you don't have one, whether you're homeless or anywhere in between, and dislocated workers. Sometimes people are, their job is discontinued, and then they are looking for another job, or maybe they want to transition to another kind of field. So we really help them all. We want them to come in. I remember many people when they would come into a community, especially if they was African American, they'd go to the urban leagues and figure out what kind of jobs you have. So we want to help everybody wherever they are to then expand their skills or get to the next level that they choose to.
Okay, I know that the Urban League is on Marysville Boulevard, and that's what, Del Paso Heights?
Yes.
Okay, now let's say if you live in Elk Grove. Okay, and if you wanted to go to the Urban League and help out, and see if they can help you find a job, do you guys have a satellite building up in Elk Grove, or they have to go to your building on Marysville Boulevard to get help?
Well, let me answer that in three ways. One, we're the Greater Sacramento Urban League, so we serve the Greater Sacramento area.
Okay.
We have a 6-county area that that's our area, but we are Sacramento County centric.
Okay.
We do serve people from Elk Grove all the time. We have lots of success from them as well. So our main office is in Del Paso Heights.
Okay.
And the reason is that we wish we could have employment work centers all across town, but we don't.
Okay.
We have that main one there. We do have a satellite office in Oak Park on Alhambra Boulevard. It's focused on some of our health initiatives, which are related to the Black Child Legacy. But we do, and then we have somebody stationed in Marina Vista Alder Grove, which is a huge public housing complex. So we do have people that are, we do have offices, and we can come and provide services, but for full service, it's the one on Marysville.
I see. Yeah, special services in the other places.
Right. We haven't gotten to the point where we can duplicate food services. That would certainly could be a goal of ours, but we haven't gotten there yet. But we try to connect people. If there's transportation issues, we have bus passes. If there are other issues, if we could have a number of people in Elk Grove or South Sacramento, and we do go and do certain kinds of programs in those areas, we have to have sort of the critical mass in order to bring a teacher or start a full program. But we do have the flexibility because we are preparing people for work. We have training programs that will get them to jobs, and then we want to connect them to jobs that may be closer to where they live.
Right.
But, you know, we do need people to come into the office, get the full service and the complement of service. Our main headquarters is in Del Paso Heights, which is our full service operation in that facility. In addition, we do have a satellite office in Oak Park on Alhambra Boulevard, and it's primarily for the Black Child Legacy Program, but we also then bring in our services, so on it sort of like an ad hoc basis and part of the multidisciplinary team. We also have someone that's stationed at a huge public housing site, Marina Vista Alder Grove. Some of us may know it as CV Circle. So we have someone stationed there. But let me say, regardless of where our physical location is, our goal is to provide the resources to people. They will have to come to a location, but the goal is to equip them and to help them get there. So if they need transportation, we do have bus passes. We do have some other ways that we can assist them to get there. And part of the preparation for work is really to help prepare them to get to the workplace at the end of the day. So this could be almost like a trial run.
Right.
And I will say that we've had much success from people coming from Elk Grove, from South Sacramento, obviously from North Sacramento, to access our services and our many training programs.
So there should be no excuses because you give us a bus pass to get there.
Yes.
Right. So let me just ask you, outside of the Sacramento Black Urban League, did I say that right? Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Aside from that, outside of that, you have been an activist of social justice for a long time. How many years? In the 70s? When did you first start?
Right. Yep, late 70s. Actually, when I reflect on the journey that I've been on, I think I'm in a good place at the Urban League right now.
Okay.
And started off, certainly had a career in government, but started off in housing. First-time homebuyer housing, working with underserved communities, then multifamily housing, all affordable housing financing.
Wow.
Right here in Sacramento, started in Oakland, then came here, and neighborhood development, and then economic development. And in many ways, that's what the Urban League does now. And what I've been able to do is take all of that experience, certainly the challenges and the opportunities from there, and then bring them to the Urban League from a nonprofit perspective to really see how we can move the agenda as far as providing jobs, improving communities, and also advocating for systemic change that's really going to change the trajectory of our people. So it's just not enough that we're providing jobs. It's what is a landscape and what's keeping us from accessing those jobs in the first place. Because really, the Urban League should be out of business one day if we do it right. And education, why do we find ourselves in a place where black people are at the bottom of everything that's good? When suspension rates are high, which we're at the top of that, but when your graduation rates, retention rates, we're at the bottom. And then by the time we get to work with them at the Urban League, we got to then deal with all these systemic things, institutionalized racism, and some would call white supremacy that leads us to where we are, trying to bring people up when we should have never been behind in the first place.
Right.
So we find ourselves issuing programs because that's the now and that's the present. But what about the future? So we're at the tables with the California Community Colleges, with the Sac City Unified School District, with all of these systems and the city in partnership with inclusive economic development, figuring out how we tear down these systems so that we can not even get through now, but the people, the youth and the people of the future can get through it.
It's kind of complicated though, because it's all associated with politics, right? When we talk about systemic racism and how do we break through that, especially with what we're dealing with today.
Yes.
The President of the United States does not make our struggle easier at all.
Right, but that's why we're involved with the national movement. So the National Urban League is 110 years old, and there are over 100 affiliates across the nation, and we're all independently operated with a local board and nonprofit. But while we're working on our local level, we're also connecting with the statewide level. I'm working closely with the other urban leagues in California, and then on a national level, because we know it's multi-layered and you gotta address every issue all the time. And so you'll find us on some state legislation, on some local legislation, on some national movements to really change the paradigm, and then to unshake some funds that will then go to our communities.
Right, and that's the problem. It's shaking that tree.
Shaking the money tree.
Yeah, they're shaking that tree. Man, we need to shake that tree.
Right.
Because me personally, I think that Urban League is a very good organization and a very good asset to the African American community. Well, let's just say the poor community, okay? Because I think it's good, but it's more money need to be poured in the poor communities, okay? So that the people can get a fair chance. We can sit down at the table. We can talk with the president of the United States, Trump. We can talk to a lot of people.
Pointless.
Okay, but the thing is that boils down to is uplifting the community, uplifting the people in the community. And you know one thing, to be honest with you, you know what they need? Money. They need money. We need money.
And you're absolutely right. So what can our role in that? Obviously, we don't have control of the money. If we did, we would distribute it differently. But I think as far as my background, at least on a local level, I at least know where some of the money is.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
I work with it. I will say what we're doing at the Urban League right now and through months to come is, let's say, the census. Now, I know we think the census is just about counting in people in there, but it translates into dollars.
It does.
Yeah.
African Americans have been undercounted in 2010, in 2000, and now we are at 2020. And we have lost millions and millions of dollars to our community because we have not counted ourselves or our children. So we are leading an effort to count all the African Americans in Sacramento County, the undercount, because that translates in dollars into Head Start, dollars into SETA, employment training programs like we run. It translates into housing, affordable housing, housing assistance in parks in our community. It all translates into that. So that's a money issue that all we have to do is go count it. So we're encouraging everybody throughout the whole year. April 1st is the census day, but we're going to be counting from there way through the summer to get people in. It also then counts to representation, because representation then not only from a federal level but a state and a local level then begins to make our issues a priority. I will say the Urban League is there, one, to get the census. The other thing on the local level is we have been a strong proponent of inclusive economic development. And where we stand now is that there are some communities that have been left behind in the sort of resurgence or renovation in our region, just even in our county. So Del Paso Heights, where we are now, there has been a plan for the town center, as long as you can go back, way before, long before I got to the Urban League, because I haven't been going there, but the city, any consultant comes, but there's nothing that changes. There's 12 vacant lots in a 2-block area where our building is located. So what we're trying to do, one, is to get people ready, and then we have purchased a site, a vacant lot next to us for affordable housing and commercial, where we can give jobs to people in that neighborhood and where businesses can come and thrive, and then a town center where people feel good about it. And so those are kinds of things we can do in collaboration with others that begin to change the trajectory not only of a people, but the life of a community. And by the way, don't move the people out that live there. So gentrification and housing.
Now you're
so
talking.
we're bringing those issues forward. We are relentless about them, and we can't do it by ourselves, but we are surely positioned to do our part and to do it well.
But Ms. Jennings, what is the best way to get the community to
Support you.
yeah, to not only to support you, but to let them know that, hey, doing the census is very important, because that's where our money actually gonna come from.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to get that word out. I hear you.
Right. And so we have collaborated with over 50 organizations, plus it's still growing, and churches to really get culturally sensitive information out. So we have gotten ads out. You can see through the Observer, through the KDE, also iHeartRadio. We have flyers out. We're going to events. We're everywhere trying to let people know the importance. We have also identified what we're going to call and the slogan that we've done for 2020 census is Make Black Count. And so we're partnering with the NAACP, with all the sororities and fraternities, we're going to have 25 plus churches. What we have come up with, we have t-shirts and backpacks. We were out at the Martin Luther King March to really launch the effort. And what we have sort of coined is a Make Black Count weekend. So from March 20th to the 22nd, we're going to have community pop-ups. We're going to be where Black people are. We're also going to be at the churches with computers to really let people know it's easy, it's safe, and we need you to be counted.
So when that person shows up at your door, don't turn them away.
Right. and what's interesting, so it only happens every 10 years.
The census taker.
Yes,
Right.
the census taker.
Right. But what's interesting, it only happens every 10 years, so we sort of forget, and then it's always changing. So for the first time this year, it's online. Oh my goodness.
Oh, nice.
So we're all going to get a card in the mail that says, around March 16th, that says, now you can go online or call in. So some of us are going to be fine. Some people are going to panic. Some people, So we're letting people know that's the case. If they need assistance on getting online, we're going to have kiosks all around. Anybody who wants one can let us know. We're going to have one at the Urban League with a person that can answer questions. And then we're going to have trusted people through all of our volunteer efforts to get the education out. If you don't fill it out on those ways, then later you're going to get some paper. We're trying to avoid that, but if you do, somebody's going to eventually be knocking on your door. You got to answer it, make sure they're credentialed so they can help you, and know the information that you need to get out. So throughout the county, we're trying to educate people on the importance of that.
Right.
And we're not just working one medium or with one group, we're working with all groups. So certainly if they want to volunteer, they should call, or they want to get engaged with their organization or let people know, they should contact the Urban League. And we can give you a list of other organizations that are partnering, and certainly give you all the information and training you need to help our people be counted.
Nice.
How can people get in contact with the Urban League?
You can call us at 916-286-8600. Or you can also go to our website, www.gsul.org. GSUL, Greater Sacramento Urban League, the initials.org. We are available. We have those kinds of projects that are going on constantly. And you know, election is coming up in November.
Right.
and we need to. We are a vote center. We need to
Yes.
get once we need
So
to
you're-
get people counted. We need to get them to vote.
So the
Right.
building is a vote center.
It is
The building in Del Paso Heights there on Marysville Boulevard is a vote center.
right.
And are you guys participating with other organizations about getting out to vote?
Yes, the same ones that the census, the voting, is all the same organizations. We were at Crocker a couple of weeks ago. We registered people to vote. Yes, we are out doing that. We're out educating. We try to bring attention. You know, in Sacramento County, just last year, we started the Voters' Choice Act. So now you can cast your ballot anywhere in the county. It doesn't have to be in your neighborhood polling because that doesn't exist anymore. You go to a vote center. We all get things mailed. What is really interesting that still I don't think we all know is that you can register up to the day of election and you can vote. This is what Sacramento County is doing and California is doing. Contrary to many other parts of the country, we're trying to open up the votes. And now all we got to do is make sure our people get through. At the last election, we were able to hold some forums, and actually on the election day, we were having little talk sessions because the challenge is, I know if I'm going and I'm registering to vote, I might not know everything's on the ballot. And so what we had was these little chat sessions with people, definitely not to tell them what to vote for, but to answer any questions and have them get familiar with the ballot before they went in to vote. It was very successful for people who just aren't engaged in that discussion like maybe many of us are every day. And so it really worked out well to have an education tool to really empower people. So that's the other pillar of the Urban League is really that empowerment part.
Right.
Because people are so discouraged right now with what's going on in politics. And this is a pivotal time in actually history. We're actually living in history right now.
Yes.
Right.
You know, so. And
History's being written
right
now.
now.
Yeah.
But that's,
Oh, yes, it
that's
is.
what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah, so, you know, I think people are a little discouraged and really praying, but we got to really make it happen. Action. Take action.
It is our obligation for all of our ancestors and all of the leadership that really put their lives on the
On
line
the
for
line.
us to
Yes.
vote. It's
And
our, and we need to do it for them, but it's our obligation as citizens of this country, as residents of this country, for our voices to be heard, and it does make a difference.
It does.
One vote at a time. We got some local issues that are on the ballot now. We got statewide and federal issues. It matters.
It
Yeah.
matters.
And we appreciate you, Ms. Jennings. We really do. I appreciate you for sure. You know, because you're on the front line.
Right.
Yes,
You're on the
we
front line.
definitely do.
Right.
And we just need more foot soldiers, you know, to really get out there and make things happen.
Absolutely.
And today's the last day of Black History Month. Now, don't stop learning. I mean, it's just, our history is so rich and so massive that we have to learn about who we are, where we came from throughout the year, not just Black History Month, but just wanted to acknowledge that. But
Absolutely. And I was on this committee, the African American Achievement Task Force with Sac City Unified School District, with some other parents and leaders in the community, really trying to see how we improve African American achievement. And one of the recommendations that we had was that you include and incorporate Black history or things that are culturally relevant, not only to Blacks, but to all, but certainly we're focusing on the achievement of Blacks in the everyday curriculum.
yes, absolutely.
Not just 1 month, and I challenged them to make
12
sure you
months
did
a
it in
year.
1 month, but 12 months
Right,
a year,
absolutely.
because your outcomes are so better. I mean, we're trying to produce. We're trying to do things that change outcomes, and what we're looking for is success of Black people.
Yes.
And if Black people are successful, all people are
All people.
successful.
Right.
Amen.
Right.
Right.
Amen.
And then really everybody needs to know, not
Yes.
just Black folks, but of course we
Right.
definitely need to know.
Yes.
But everyone needs to know. We need to change the narrative and really tell the truth. You know.
And here's what we'd like to say. So I think you mentioned, and it's true, the Urban League serves everybody. We are intentional and unapologetic about outreaching and trying to serve African Americans. One is because we're the last ones at the table. We're at the bottom when it counts. And if we can uplift, this is not anti anybody else, but it's trying to lift up a community that will make us all successful.
Amen.
And so we're unapologetic about really trying to target African Americans, because these are resources that they need to know available. We're working with the California community colleges where I Can Afford College. They have 200 career tech colleges in the community college system throughout this state. And so it shouldn't be any reason why anybody, but particularly African Americans, don't have access to that. So part of our opportunity through the empowerment is making sure that they have access, that they know it's available, know how to access it, and then we need to figure out how the institutions keep them in and graduate them.
Amen.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then I will say part of our empowerment is sort of the whole health thing around. We do housing. We first-time home buyers, changing the narrative. Housing is my background. I think that will be the first time that many of us, and the only time maybe some of us, can really participate in economic building of wealth. And so we need to start with home ownership. So we're trying to tell whether you're coming out of prison, whether you don't have a job, whether you just graduated from high school, you too can own a home. You got to start thinking about it.
Yes, thank you so much,
Thank
Ms.
you
Jennings,
for-
for being
yes.
here and shedding
Okay.
light on this subject matter today. We appreciate you.
Tell the people one more time how they can get in touch with the Urban League.
It's the Greater Sacramento Urban League. You can call 916-286-8600, and or our website is gsul.org. And it will link you to all of the programs and services that we have.
All right.
Well, thank you so much. Also, be sure to visit the Uplifting Community's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages and accounts. Like us, friend us, let us know what you thought of today's program, and we really appreciate you watching, and would hope that you would participate. With that, my name is T.D. Trice.
I'm Terry A. O'Neill.
And I'm John L. Brown.
And for our guests, Cassandra Jennings, thank you for watching today's program.
Uplifting. Whoa, whoa. Bring it together, y'all. Yeah. Uplifting. Need some uplifting. Yeah. We can get it right. So we can get it right. Uplifting. Uplifting. Community.